So in the first two parts I said my opinions about several Cartoon Network originals. I think that everybody knows what bothers me in these shows. From the shows that premiered until 2005 I only hate two shows, but after that almost everything that premiered was terrible. Some shows that were good at first became later really stupid, and the only show I really liked was cancelled after 10 episodes. From the shows that haven't been cancelled yet, I only like one show. And unlike Chowder and Camp Lazlo, Gumball became better with later episodes. I've never been a fan of action cartoons, since I prefer comedy. But now I prefer these cheesy action shows over everything else on this channel. Anyway, let's continue with other shows. I'm going to start with the European co-productions. Most of these shows weren't shown in the United States. No surprise, most of these shows are terrible. The first show I am going to talk about is Fat Dog Mendoza. This show is not funny, has many creepy characters and nothing makes sense. A few episodes of this show are on YouTube. I hated it since it premiered in the 90s and I still hate it. My rating for this show is 1 out of 5. Here's a clip from one episode.
But anyway, we got the money, and now we gotta spend it. Any suggestions?
We can poison the water supply. You'll all be sorry for this.
We could buy me a normal head.
This show is so bad that it's actually entertaining, but it can't be taken seriously. The next show that premiered is Spaced Out. This show is a complete ripoff of the Jetsons. Cartoon Network even had the nerves to make a promo for this show with the Jetsons theme.
Meet George Jetson! Is Boyd Elroy? Tom and Judy! Jane is right!
The animation is really bad and the characters look ugly. I heard somewhere that this show was cancelled because of an inappropriate joke. In one episode, two aliens visit the humans, and one woman asks if the aliens reproduce the same way as humans. And one of the aliens said, "No, that's too messy, we clone ourselves." Anyway, this show was bearable and it gets a 3 from me. After that came the Cramp twins. Lucian is likable and Wayne is annoying. The animation of this show was bad, some characters had yellow, purple and green skin, and the show itself was boring. It gets a 2 from me. Another European co-production is Robotboy. This show would have been much better if they got rid of Gus. He's annoying and stupid. The only two likable characters in this show are Constantine and Dr. Kamikaze. But sadly everything else in this show was quite bland. It gets a 2 from me. After this came Eliot Kid. This has got to be the most boring cartoon ever. Okay, the second most boring cartoon ever. So this show is about Eliot, a kid that has a really boring life. At times, however, his imagination goes wild and just watch the video. In one episode, he thinks that the humans are becoming robot clones and their mission is...
Our mission is to make Eliot wear the itchy t-shirt he hates. Make him clean his room even when it's already clean. Make him eat broccoli and only broccoli!
This show is more than obviously a ripoff of Mona the Vampire, one of the worst cartoons ever. He sees in every ordinary thing something dangerous. Once he thought that people that wear glasses are being controlled by the school's principal. He also has two stupid friends that believe everything he says. And since the characters in this show have the personality of a rock, there are no likable characters in this show. This show gets a 0 from me. And the final co-production is Chop Socky Chucks. This show is horrible. The animation is disgusting, the characters are one-dimensional, and the jokes suck. It's another show that gets a 0 from me. Another show that used to be on Cartoon Network Europe is King Arthur's Disasters. This show is very boring, the characters are bland, and there is no humor. It has recently moved to Boomerang. Crap! It gets a 0 from me. Another show that sucked equally is the amazing Adrenalini brothers. This show is also very boring, unfunny, and the voice actors in this show sounded like they weren't even trying. Also, the animation sucked. This show gets a 0 from me. In the USA, Cartoon Network has also live action shows. I watched a few shows and they weren't funny, and also Disney's teen sitcoms are more entertaining than this. I'm giving all shows a 0 not only because they suck, but also because the name of this channel is Cartoon Network. And finally, now I'm going to talk about other shows that are on Cartoon Network, but they weren't produced by it. Let's start with the Total Drama series. Total Drama Island was okay. Total Drama Action was boring, and Total Drama World Tour was actually somewhat good. The problems I have with this show are: number 1, it's an animated reality show, and I hate reality shows because they are television garbage. Number 2, there are many unlikable characters. I really hate Courtney and Owen. Courtney is probably the most annoying female cartoon character ever, and Owen is stupid and disgusting. He once even ate a toilet seat. Number 3, this show gets often really gross. Number 4, the characters that I like normally get eliminated first. Number 5, the way some characters get eliminated also sucks because it is unfair. And number 6, after you watch all episodes of this show, you lose interest in it and you don't want to see reruns. I'm giving this show a 3, but it is only good if you watch each episode once. Another stupid show on Cartoon Network is also Johnny Test. It's a ripoff of Dexter's Laboratory and it isn't funny. However, the first season wasn't bad. Sadly, it went downhill with the second season. This show gets a 2 for me. Recently, I also watched a show called Almost Naked Animals. And after I watched one episode, I asked myself, what the heck were they thinking? The answer is simple. They weren't thinking. This show sucks and is just stupid. I'm giving this show a 0. Another idiotic show is Hero 108. This show has really bad animation, annoying characters, very simple episode plots, and it isn't funny. Also, several heroes have really stupid superpowers. One has the power to shoot electricity through his eyeballs when he eats bananas. And Mystic Sonia is fighting with her long blue tongue. She also has a living cat. And everyone that says to Sonia 3 times I love you becomes a living cat. Anyway, this show gets a 0 from me. Next is Mad. Even before it premiered, I was interested in this show because I am a huge fan of Mad TV and I wanted to know if this show is good or if it sucks. It is actually good. Sure, this isn't Mad TV, but it has funny jokes, and the gross and completely weird and random jokes are only in a few sketches in each episode. This actually doesn't bother me, because this show is not trying to make a plot. Also, there are more good jokes than bad ones. The only problem this show has is that the jokes will be outdated in a few years. For now, this show gets a 4 out of 5. Also, Cartoon Network has several reboots. Let's start with Star Wars: The Clone Wars. I'm not a fan of Star Wars, so I don't care about this show. However, I think it shouldn't be in CGI because the characters look as wooden as Pinocchio. Another reboot is the Garfield show. This show is boring, unoriginal, not funny, and the characters move like robots. Also, the CGI makes the characters look really ridiculous. Garfield is talking all the time to the viewers and explains things that everybody knows. Why? Does he think we are idiots? This show gets a 1 from me. Next is Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. I only like some of the first Scooby-Doo shows, and I think they should stop making new Scooby-Doo shows and films. Scooby-Doo simply isn't good anymore. Well, at least this show doesn't feature Scrappy or that annoying kid that always tries to sell stuff to people. In fact, from the Scooby-Doo shows that premiered in the last 20 years, this one is probably the best one, but I still don't like it. Let's not forget about this Batman reboot, which is more or less a parody of Batman. The next reboot that is currently on Cartoon Network in the United States is actually good. It's the Tom and Jerry Tales. It feels like the original, it is very similar to the original, and it's funny. Sure, it isn't better than the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, but I prefer it over the Chuck Jones cartoons, and it is a million times better than those terrible cartoons from Gene Deitch. It gets a 4 from me. And now comes the worst reboot that I've ever watched. It's the Looney Tunes show. It isn't funny and it has no humor. It is also probably the most unoriginal television show in history of television. Nothing is original. Everything is just a ripoff of every darn sitcom since the 1950s. And another thing that I really hate about this show are the merry melodies. These songs are horrible. I'd rather listen to Rebecca Black than to this crap. And finally, it made the Looney Tunes characters unlikable. Bugs isn't funny, Daffy is a complete dimwit, Sam goes green, Witch Hazel is now Witch Lisa and has an African American accent, Gossamer is her son, and it feels like every character in this show is retarded. Even if this show had its own characters, it would be one of the worst shows ever. The only good thing about this show is that it's forgettable. When I made the video The Many Problems of the Looney Tunes show, I had to watch some episodes several times, and now a few months later I remember only bits of it. In other words, this show is just as entertaining as watching paint dry. It also has a stupid fanbase that attack people for their opinions. Seriously, how can you like something that is so bad? It makes the new Family Guy episodes watchable. Since the people who make this show put no effort into it, I'm giving this show a -1. So this is Cartoon Network. Wow, they really went downhill. Most of the new shows are just stupid and gross. The older shows had actual jokes which were funny for both kids and adults. Modern cartoons don't have jokes for adults that are done in a way that kids wouldn't understand them. Cartoon Network, stop trying to get teen and adult viewers this way. The old shows don't have TV PG ratings, and many teenagers and adults love those shows. You should try to make new cartoons and please put at least a little effort into them. Also, most modern shows aren't original. Seriously, why is there no originality on this channel? I really don't know which is worse, Cartoon Network or Disney Channel. Well, at least Disney Channel has Phineas and Ferb. I made a list of things that Cartoon Network needs to do to become a good channel again. Also, I really hate that modern cartoons have so many unlikable and annoying characters. It feels like they are competing with each other which one has the worst character. Seriously, what's next? Darn it! Well, at least Fred is getting a TV show. Why are people so stupid?